And the West currently supports the Museveni government. In fact, I was looking at the country profile, the Uganda country profile from the BBC, which says, since becoming president in 1986, Yoweri Museveni has introduced democratic reforms and has been credited with substantially improving human rights, notably by reducing abuses by the army and the police. In addition, Western-backed economic reforms produced solid growth and falls in inflation in the 1990s. Now, that, of course, is a direct contradiction of the image that you have presented here of Uganda under Museveni.
It's very, very sad. Very, very sad. It pains me enormously. I have a lot of respect for the BBC. I've been very active in their programs. I respect them enormously. But to see this kind of canard, to see this kind of complete falsehood put out by the BBC is very sad. Democracy, I said earlier, and it's a fact, that for 20 straight years, Museveni ruled as one man, one party, military rule. For 20 years. When the trend in the rest of Africa was already towards multi-party system. The first multi-party elections in Uganda were held 2006. Can that be an example of democracy? And in those elections, they were massively rigged, documented by all the observers. Can that be an example that is cited for democracy? Human rights. We are talking about something cynically called safe houses, torture chambers in the country, which are maintained by Mr. Museveni. I spoke earlier about the genocide in the north, about concentration camps in which 2 million people were herded for a period of 15 to 20 years, dying at the rate of 1,500 a week. Is that an example of human rights? Just this September, to give you an example even more recent, just this September, 10th of September this last year, on the streets of Kampala, 30 people were massacred by Museveni's forces. 30 in one day because they were on the streets demonstrating for the rights of one of the kings to have access to his kingdom and the country. They did not shoot one security person. Not one gun was fired by the demonstrators, but 30 were killed. Many are still in prison to this day without trial. Hundreds were injured. Is that an example of human rights? The number of times radios have been closed, newspapers have been closed, journalists have been taken and tortured, they have disappeared. I cannot begin to recount them now. I do not see on what basis the BBC or any other Western government could cite Mr. Museveni as an example of human rights. Finally, they say the growth rates. What is the meaning of growth rates if it has no bearing on the life of people? If you go and see the most humiliating poverty in which people live, yes, there's a tiny, tiny clique that have amassed wealth, huge and impressive by world standards. Money has no object for them. Tiny, tiny clique. All the money coming in as development aid, bilateral assistance, the subvention given to the budget to the tune of 53%, unheard of. For 20 years, Western governments have been subsidizing budget in cash, 53%, but they know all this money has been going to the private pockets of Mr. Museveni and his clique. This is not a secret.
But how much money is that, by the way? The total foreign direct foreign aid or contribution to Uganda. How much is it a year?
I don't have the figures in front of me right now, but it's huge. It's one of the countries, one of the governments in the last 2 decades which has benefited the most from the largesse of Western donors. And the fact that the budget, the national budget, is subsidized in cash to the tune of 53% gives you an idea.
So 53% of the Ugandan budget is directly funded in cash by foreign contributions.
By